Welcome everyone on today's Metal3 Community meeting. Today is 20th of September 2023 and my name is Atam Rosman. I will be your host, and as usual we will start with introductions, but I don't see any new participants on the list, so we can skip that. Please note that the meeting is recorded, and as usual first we can go through the reminders. If you would like to pick up some tasks, then please use the help wanted filter in the project, and you will find quite a few of these. Then if you think your organization would benefit from adding itself as an adopter, that would be great. That would help the project a lot. We are looking to increase the number of adopters. If you are running tests on the CI and you hit some issue that is hard to reproduce, or you are not sure about that, and you ask around and there's no one who seems to know about that, then please create an issue and add it to the flake tracker. You can, or it's actually nowadays called the Metal3 CI tracker, but feel free to add, just create an issue in any of the repos, and then you can add it to a project, and you will see there the Metal3 CI tracker, and then it will be part of the flake tracker, and the maintainers and the folks who work on the CI can more easily debug it. Yeah, we have this expired plan to branch the ironic image and fix the versions, but that's being delayed at the moment. I don't think Ricardo is here, so we cannot, I think, discuss it at the moment. And then there is some new additions to the regular reminders. That is that I took the HackMD version of our incubation proposal that we were writing some time ago, or at least it's like a draft of that. And because it was a community request, I moved it to Google Docs. And if you are subscribed to the mailing list, that was shared with you, but you can also access it via the link from these meeting docs, and it will be always posted here. And just a few words about the proposal document. Everyone will have editor rights, so feel free to add to it, expand it. Most of the proposal is actually already filled in. There are a few to-dos that you can find in it, but if you scroll down to the bottom, we had just a meeting a few weeks ago and kind of identified a few key areas where we still lack, such as like release procedures for BMO and ironic image, and also lack of some governance documents and so on. This is just a short list of those things that in 1 or 1.5 hours we have seen. But feel free to add the new section here if you think that there are some extra stuff that we lack, that we should implement to succeed with the incubation, so successfully get into incubation. Feel free just to extend the list, add your name and the note, and yeah, make it visible to the whole community. So these were the usual reminders, and then we have a few review requests that we are carrying over from previous meetings. And then first is, I think it was introduced last week, this is the non-bootable generic ISO support proposal. And I see that since last week there, Dimitri, you already started reviewing that. That's great. If someone else is interested in this, please follow Dimitri's way and review this. And then we have this from Kashif. This is an enabled concurrency in BMO. Controllers through the command line flags. This is sitting here for a long time, and there are no discussions about it. So please help out Kashif and review this. Help him push this topic. It's for BMO. And then this is next to my name, but this is a group effort. What we have been discussing this for some time, and this was discussed on community meeting also. So the CI is being the CAPM3 CI is being decoupled from BMO, so BMO will get its own E2E tests and its own standalone tests, and there is a proposal for that, so feel free to review it. Of course, all kind of reviews are good, but this is currently waiting for an approved label. But quite a few folks have already reviewed it, just that very few of us have approval rights, I think, for this. Yep, these were all the reminders, quite a lot. And then we arrive to the community working group updates. I see from Dimitri that you have no updates. Is there anyone else from the community, from that working group? No, neither Hui nor Mohammed, so we can skip that. And then the discussion topics. So I have a review request. This is something that's sitting here for sometimes, not that much long time, but for 1.5 months. This is a feature that I'm trying to introduce into the ironic image and subsequently to the devenv, and very minor code also to the BMO. Those PRs are also there, but those are on hold until this goes in. And you can read what are the new things that would come with this. But the core of that is the ironic image would get the capability in a form of a new script, a completely separate new script, to build custom iPXE firmware. Basically, either you run it as like a container, like just run the ironic image and execute this script, or you can run it as an. The plan is that eventually we'll be able to run it as an init container or as part of the ironic deployment. Currently, it is just for running it in the devenv on Ubuntu and just putting there the ability to have this script and run it. I have not wrote the config for using it as an init script in actual like cloud native deployments, or when it is deployed as a, when Ironic is deployed as a pod. But this is just the first step, just to put there the functionality. And there are two key things that it can enable already. One is IPv6 support for the iPXE firmware, and the other is TLS 1.3 support. So that you can already enable with the environment variable, but there is a functionality semi-open in there to embed any sort of embedded PXE script. So we can elaborate on that, we can extend that, and then the user would be able to add any sort of embedded iPXE script, which has basically no limits. You can do whatever you want with that. Yeah, so please review it if you are interested. That would help me quite a lot, because I think very few folks have approval rights on this ironic image repo. And I also have a question related to the size of the image, because if this goes in, then I need GCC and these few packages to be there to be able to build it a container. Okay, so that's from me. Is there any questions related to this or any suggestions or anything?
I just can only comment that installing Git and GCC will probably justify make this feature optional, like at build time, because these are pretty large. It's gonna like add maybe at least 50 megabytes to images. I mean, maybe people don't care. I don't know, but just something to consider.
Yeah.
Is that just a build time dependency or?
No, because the idea is that you can build it on the fly. So when you deploy it, actually, into like when you do, for example, a Ironic deployment, like the Ironic pod is deployed, it would be an init container for that. If the folks, if the users would enable this feature, then they basically would add this as an additional init container, same as we have for the EPUB downloader, and then it would build it basically in deployment time.
Does it make sense to consider having a different image, like an iPixie builder image, which just does the builder part of the process, and then you wouldn't need to create the the larger image size for all of the Ironic image users?
Yeah, that's something that that could be done. There are a few, like, yeah, the Ironic image would need, even in this case, a few extra environment variables to be set. But yes, with the size issue, that would help if that's something that the community would like. This is basically my question here. That is it okay to have it as part of the Ironic image to put these dependencies in, or something else? So I'm open to making it another other container image.
I was actually going to suggest the same thing as Steve, essentially. Ironic image is a bit of a disaster. I would like us to start decomposing it rather than piling more stuff inside. I mean, I know it's not easy, but maybe in this case, when it's gonna be like a separate init container that only does building of a Pixie, maybe at least please consider that.
Yeah,
And
okay.
It's also
it's not
a
feasible.
similar pattern. You know, the IPA downloader already does a similar thing, right? You have a separate init container image that does some dependency preparation, and then the runtime image is everything we need for runtime is in Ironic image. So I guess we can all add a comment to the PR and see whether there's consensus on that approach or not.
Yeah, that would be great. Thanks. Okay. If there are nothing else, we can go to this next review request from Dimitri.
All right, yeah, that's kind of heads up review request because that's a pretty interesting change. As you know, the past few months, our team had been working on merging Ironic Inspector back into Ironic, so that with the same functionality, there will be no more separate service. And for us, that's a major milestone towards that direction. So Ironic Inspector is still there, first and foremost, but Ironic Inspector is no longer directly accessed by bare metal operator. So BMO is only talking to Ironic, and Ironic, if needed, is talking to Ironic Inspector. So that breaks this dependency. It also, I remember somebody was asking, can we please have Ironic Inspector optional? I haven't tested that, so I cannot claim it works now, but I would actually believe that now bare metal operator can start and operate without Ironic Inspector being present, if inspection, for example, is disabled on all hosts. Yeah, so please check this, please check for impact. Steve already, or Zane, Steve and Zane actually raised a pretty valid comment about backward compatibility. So I think that's already here. So if you see something, please let me know. Otherwise, let's get it merged. And I'll tell you right away that it's much easier to review it commit by commit rather than try to understand the whole diff. They're like 4 commits and they are logically separate, so we have much easier time reviewing them.
Yeah, this is something that I believe we certainly should take a look. I will ping a few folks here. This. Just see. Is it like and I need Kashif here for sure, and I need Leonard here, and I need Mohammed here. At least you folks, because this has quite a big potential impact for everyone. Everywhere. Yeah, but I somewhat followed the discussion about this in the IRC. I think I've seen a few stuff on Ironic side that maybe you have mentioned this once or twice. Yeah, so please, everyone who have basically any stake on running Metal3, check this. I think it's quite important. Thanks. Is there anyone else who would like to add something for this? Yeah, if nothing, then thanks, Dimitri. I hope this will proceed without an issue. And I see the next one is also from you, the outreach update.
Thank you. So just 1 week after I announced that there will be no outreaches this cycle, the outreach organizers actually let me know that they found a sponsor willing to sponsor at least one intern working on Metal3. I don't know who the generous party is, or is it outreach itself? But in your update, we can and should submit a project this cycle for outreach. I'm already scratching my head for projects, but I really love anyone's input. What we should do, I'm thinking this time maybe we do something code related rather than docs related, but I'm open to any opinions. And I'm very open to mentors or people who want to co-mentor but are not ready to become the main mentor. Please contact me. That would be really, really good because the usual suspects are currently on vacation and they won't be able to do the mentorship. I mean, Ricardo and Himanshu. And we need to let the organizer know by September 29th. So we have 9 days, essentially, until Friday next week. So let's make it happen. It's a great initiative and it's great that we found someone to sponsor that, even though Red Hat could not. So ping me on Slack or drop me an email if you're interested or have ideas or anything.
Thanks, Dimitri. I think mine was the next topic. Firstly, I just wanted to say hello to everyone. I previously was a Metal3 maintainer, but I switched to a different project for some time, and so I've been away from the community. I'm now returning, having started a new job, and I'm happy to be getting involved with the community again. The topic I had here was related to the ironic inspector changes Dimitri already summarized. And specifically, it was about the impact on people who are perhaps consuming bare metal operator images releases from upstream, but not using the ironic images, which are tracking master. I think for those of us deploying Metal3 in production, we might well be using one of the stable OpenStack releases or some other non-development branch of ironic. And Dimitri pointed out that that's something we've never really discussed in the past. And in this case, I think the ironic inventory API did land in the current stable release, which is the 2023.1 Antelope release. So I think that's fine, like provided those of us running stable branches are on that version, I don't think it's a reason not to proceed with the PR, but it seemed like a good chance to discuss the process. And I could imagine if, for example, we decided to land a change that was only on master and not yet in any stable branch, that could cause problems for some of us who are, deploying metal cubed in situations where we desire to run stable ironics. So, Dimitri, did you want to expand on that at all? Hopefully that's a reasonable summary of the interaction we had.
Yep, thank you. I guess the highlight here is currently we do the naive thing. Every time we need a feature, it's exposed in some ironic API version. We just say we require this API version. For Steve is saying that's chasing master. We're doing that here upstream. We're doing that in OpenShift too. But that may be an inconvenience for people who don't use. I assume you don't use ironic images, you own container images, Steve, or how does it work?
Yeah, exactly. So we basically have some downstream images which are consuming the OpenStack stable releases, and the Metal cubed upstream images are great for development, but for our downstream production orientated usage, we would prefer to use OpenStack stable versions. So it's I wasn't sure if other folks in the community have the same constraint, whether it makes sense to discuss managing dependencies in a way that will make that kind of less difficult. And as I say, in this instance, I think the PR is perfectly fine, but I would imagine if we had a future PR that had an ironic change that only existed on master, that could present some problems, at least for my team. I wasn't sure if anyone else was in the same position.
It's not an unreasonable position for sure. I guess that's a good point. I guess that's something we need to take into account when we review design proposals. And there's a dependency section. And maybe we should update our template saying, does it require your ironic API version? If so, what we're gonna do? Because there are definitely at least 2 changes from the Red Hat side incoming, which will expose this problem, at least one of them. And I guess solution from my side would be, okay, we don't just bump the required API version. We make a feature discovery where we say, okay, this API version is present, we can use this feature. This API version is not present, and everything works, but this feature is rejected. For some definition of rejected, I haven't thought this through, but that's a standard approach to working with API versions in OpenStack. And we've been a bit lazy about this. Maybe not really like a big problem, but yeah, as we mature and grow up, that's something we need to take into account. What do other folks think?
I mean, the feature discovery approach seems like a good one if it's going to be a relatively small number of changes, and that avoids the potential overhead of having to maintain stable branches of bare metal operator either upstream or downstream. So yeah, +1 for me. That sounds like a reasonable option.
What we have to also add the fact that we plan to have like stable branches of ironic image and also the BMO. At least that's what we agreed on. So even those should come eventually.
That's interesting. I wasn't around for that conversation. So if there's going to be stable BMO releases, then those can potentially align with the stable ironic releases. And yeah, this problem again could be solved that way. Historically, I know that we haven't wanted to have stable releases of BMO, which was mainly down to the extra release process overhead. But if that's likely to change in the future, then I guess it's another good solution to this problem.
Yeah, just to recap it then, because that might that's a thing that was decided a bit back in time, but good if we talk about that again. So during the MetaCube project team meeting or just MetaCube team meeting, which was like a longer 2-day event, at the beginning of this year, I believe that's when we had it. We identified that it would be good if both the ionic image and the BMO would get stable release process, and as part of that they would have branches, and then the ionic image would follow the actual ionic development cycle. That's where this reminder is from. So that's why this is here, because we originally planned to fix the ionic versions in the ionic image mid or end of August, and then proceed with branching and like start following the actual ionic project. And why we would need these anyways is that in order to progress with the CNCF life cycle of the project to get to incubation, we need a well documented and reasonable release process. So we cannot live much longer with like just using the BMO main branch and so on. So, and the best part of that process, there is the decoupling going on with the CI. For BMO, there's the API stabilization going on from Dimitri's side. There's that proposal. So we are progressing into that direction, just to recap. But apart from these, I don't see these clashing with feature discovery. So I wouldn't oppose that either.
Oh, thanks very much for the summary there. I mean, that sounds like a good solution to this problem. And I guess the only thing to be careful of is that we don't land anything before that branching process is implemented that requires bare metal operator to depend on, pre-release Ironic APIs. Dimitri, you mentioned a couple of changes that are planned in the future. Do you think it's likely that those are going to happen before the branching strategy is implemented?
What's really holding the branching strategy? End-to-end tests, Adam?
Could you please repeat the question? I didn't understand.
What is blocking actually having BMO branches like starting today? End-to-end tests?
End-to-end? No, I don't think that end-to-end tests are blocking it. I mean, the end-to-end test proposal is hanging, but I don't think that blocks it. Let me see. We have a document for that, I believe. This is yours. This is not that. Let me go to BMO. What was that? Was it an issue, not a...
Yeah, try to find something like that the other day and also couldn't do it. Maybe we've merged everything?
Could be. Let me see who is in the chat. Tumo, do you remember what's holding it back? Because I don't at the moment.
Holding what back exactly?
The branching of the BMO.
I mean, there's nothing blocking creating the branches, but then in current CI they would just replace the tags, so we wouldn't have basically the ability to merge anything to those branches yet. which is basically waiting for the, I guess, for the BMO end-to-end in a way to make more sense. Because currently the whole integration testing approach is CapM3 driven. So and currently we are basically either testing a BMO tag or main, but it's all led by CapM3. So landing something in a BMO branch is kind of BMO driven then. And for that, we don't have any testing. I guess that's the main blocker of the branches.
Okay, that makes it a bit clearer. And related to these, Leonard wanted to make a presentation today because he actually is implementing the end-to-end tests. Like there are, I think, even a PR about them. I'm not sure. I can check it quickly.
I've seen a PR, yes. That's box. Just go to PRs.
Oh, I'm at the PRs. Where was it?
These and not PRs.
Issues? Or
You probably modify the search. Now go to pull request spec. Here you go. The fourth from the bottom.
oh yeah, here it is. I'm just blind. Yeah, so he already has a quite big PR and testing it constantly, and he wanted to present it this week, but had the couple meetings, so he will be presenting this next week on this community meeting according to the current plans. So yeah, this is coming along also. So I assume if this will go on and like we get through this integration period, we verify that yeah the hooks are working, we can start tests from GitHub comments and so on. We can basically branch out and make the jobs for testing the main and the first branch, and then some documentation, and we have like branching. And then this will adopt, as I understand, but correct me if I'm wrong, this will adopt the release process of the CapM3 in a sense that like the technical, not the versioning, but just the technical side that we will create like when the release team will release stuff, they will do it similar way and end up with the containers tagged in the queue and so on. So yeah, this is then progressing. Yep. Is there any questions related to Steven's questions or to what I just mentioned about the BMO? And I guess that was like my answer, and Dimitri's feature discovery was an answer to your questions, Steven, right?
Yeah, thanks for the conversation. I think either of those outcomes would be fine. I just wanted to kind of take the opportunity to have the discussion, given that the inspector change does require a relatively new ironic version. So yeah, thanks very much for the suggestions.
Yep, great. Okay, we can progress then. And next is from Salima. I think I know what's this about, but please.
Hi everyone. Sorry. So Adam, yeah, I think I saw your comment on the the PR yesterday. I don't know. I've never had this error before. It's new to me, and I've tried everything that I could find on the internet to help. Well, all my resources have not worked. So it's my first time seeing it. So I really don't know what to do. And my mentors, Ricardo and Himanshu, are unavailable at the moment. So
Yep, I get it. It was good that you brought this to the community meeting. I checked it actually. I wanted to get back to you, but I have no idea why this is there. It fails with removing the trailing white spaces, but I don't see any trailing white spaces. So I'm a bit.
If you go to the bottom and highlight the red lines, you can see that they contain trailing spaces, like line 158 in that page. The red lines that are failing.
Wait.
No, I mean the pre.
Yeah, back here. Yeah. So
and then highlight the end of the line. You can see there's extra space compared to the.
Okay.
So it is basically telling you what to do.
Okay.
thank you. I see it now. Thank you so much.
Oh, thanks, Tom. I haven't noticed it myself. And shouldn't this be highlighted by the diff also in GitHub with the red like block? So wasn't that a thing?
These might predate the hook, maybe. Maybe it's not part of the diff, but it is touching the same file, so it triggers.
Yeah, interesting. I see them here too. But I thought this should highlight this view. Okay. Today we learned something. Thank you. Is there any other questions? Any other issues? Anything you want to talk about?
Yes. So before I completed my internship, my 3 months time, we had a last task for me, and it was on the frequently asked questions on the Metal3 website. We wanted to update the questions there because we felt like they were not representative of the actual frequently asked questions that people would actually want to know when they come on the website for maybe their first time, or if they're like first time users. So we wanted to update those questions, and I was hoping I could get like a small survey from the current members of the of Metal3, so we would actually be able to properly pick out questions that we know would be useful to first-time users, and just basically increase the experience of first-time users here. So I don't know if it's possible for I wanted to go around and like ask questions if they respect their specific questions, because I'm sure we've all seen the questions on the website. So I don't know if there are specific questions we might want to add, or maybe like update the ones that are already there right now. So those questions are more targeted to the problems or the issues that some people might actually have questions about, and would readily answer those questions they have.
Yeah, go on, please.
If I start a Google Doc and send to a few of us, at least to myself, maybe Adam, the people with a lot of experience in the project, whoever is available nowadays, we can try to compose a list of questions and answers for you to then design nicely and send the pull request.
Yeah, that works. That would be perfect. Thank you so much.
Yeah, that would be great. I would if you send to Dimitri and me, or the other thing that you can also do, which may be even faster than just sending to us, sending to the mailing list. Do you have the address of the mailing list?
Yes, I initially sent a message to the mailing list, but I guess nobody saw it, so I'll just send another one today.
Okay, okay.
Yeah.
Then I guess it's enough if you send it to me and Dimitri, and we can disturb people with it. I can bring it up inside our team. It's at least 7 people, so they can come up with a few things.
Thanks, Adam.
Okay, anybody else? Any other question? Okay, if nothing, then thank you for your time and a lot of good discussions. Let's meet next week, the same time. And next week we will have some triaging also. And until then, have a nice rest of the day and a nice week. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Goodbye.
Thanks all.
Bye, everyone. Bye. Thanks. Bye.
Yeah. Bye bye.